All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to AI for Efficient Lesson Planning, part of our summer webinar series. We are going to look at the different AI tools we have available to use in our classrooms for lesson planning and hopefully give you back the one thing that teachers never have enough of, which is time. Uh, so I will introduce myself. I'm Christopher Evans. I am a PD specialist with CodeHS. I've been a classroom teacher for about 18 years. And for the last 10 of those, I've been a computer science teacher and actively using CodeHS in my classroom. So I'm excited to share my resources with you today. And in the chat and Q&A, I have Leanne, and I will let her introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Leanne Grant, and I'm also a PD specialist here at CodeHS. I was a computer science teacher for 10 years in the classroom before coming to CodeHS. I've been here for a little over a year now, and I look forward to working with you guys on your questions and seeing what kind of insight that you guys can give us in the chat today.
Awesome. So while everybody's coming in, we'll go over the agenda for today. We'll share out attendance links and everything here in a second. We'll start with some basics on what generative AI is. There's a lot of buzzwords going around with AI, so we're going to hopefully be able to cut through some of that so you understand what some of these terms mean. Then we'll look at the main meat of this presentation, which is prompt engineering. And prompt engineering is just the best way to ask a chatbot for what you want to get the best results. So we're going to look at how to write your question that you're going to ask the AI so that you get the best response in return. We'll look specifically at using those resources for lesson planning, and we'll have a quick demonstration, and then we will wrap things up. Leanne has shared a link to the slides in the chat. So make sure you check that for your copy of the slides. If you have any questions during the webinar, you can click on the Q&A and Leanne will help you with that. If you have something you would like to share with the group, you can do so in the chat as well. If you have any experiences with using AI for lesson planning or anything you would like to share, you can do that in the chat as well. If you need a CodeHS account, we will not be in the platform today, but we will be looking at some of the resources that CodeHS has available. So if you need an account, you can do so at codehs.com/signup and get a free teacher account. And the important part of the setup is the link to the attendance to get your certificate of completion for today, so that we are all we all get credit for being here this morning, and you can turn that in for your PD hours. You must be logged into your CodeHS account, however, to get credit. So go ahead and create that free CodeHS account if you don't already have one, and click the attendance link so you can get your certificate of completion that will be emailed to you after today's session. And looks like we have a lot of people from all over. So welcome everyone. I'm glad y'all joined us. I hope wherever you're joining us, it is cooler than it is here in Texas. We're currently melting over here, but while everybody's getting their attendance taken care of and getting their links taken care of and everything, I'll give you a brief overview of what CodeHS is and what we have to offer. CodeHS is a comprehensive platform for teaching computer science. We offer K-12 resources. We have a extensive catalog of courses and trainings and things for kindergarten all the way through 12th grade for teaching computer science and computer science related topics in your classroom. Everything is entirely web-based. There's no software to install, so you have access to our platform, and your students have access to our platform anywhere that they have a web browser and internet access. We offer online and offline professional development for teachers, and the full platform is available as far as the catalog and whatnot with every account. There are some tools that are available on a pro account, but every teacher gets a free account and has access to our full catalog and many of our teacher tools and resources. One of the major benefits of our platform is that students can submit their work and you can immediately provide that feedback. We have a new feature launching this year of real-time collaboration in assignments with students. So you're able to interact with your students directly on their coding exercises. There are time tracking tools, there are grade tracking tools, there are a whole toolbox of resources that can help you manage your classroom better and help you be the best teacher possible. And again, everything is web-based, so there's no plugins, there's no downloads. If you have a web browser and an internet connection, you have access to CodeHS. So let's get started with what generative AI actually is. So generative AI is essentially using text to create another artifact. You're asking the software that you're using, whatever your AI product of choice is, to create something. You can create text, you can create images, you can create videos, music. All kinds of content can be created based on the input that you give to the software that you've chosen. A few examples of DALL-E is an OpenAI product that creates images. Midjourney is another image creator AI. ChatGPT is probably the one most people have heard of, at least. If you haven't used it, you're at least familiar with the name. That is a product from OpenAI as well, and that is a chatbot. And we'll explain more in detail what chatbots are, but it's designed to be conversational almost, where you give it a prompt, you ask it a question, it gives you a response, and you can ask follow-up questions and things like that. Copilot is Microsoft's version of ChatGPT. It is an interactive chatbot. Microsoft also has some image generation tools built into their Copilot program. And Gemini is the Google version. I personally prefer Gemini because I'm an active Google user, and it integrates Google tools and everything into its service. You can create your images and your text and everything through those. And I use a combination of these tools. It just depends on what I need to do. And finding the tool that works best for you is based on how you need to use it and the results that you get, and if you're happy with what is with the output you're getting. So how does this actually work? So this graphic is showing kind of the hierarchy of what generative AI does and how it actually works. So in the outer circle, we start with artificial intelligence, which is the theory that machines are built to think like a human. Then, based on that concept, we go deeper into machine learning, which is teaching computers with data sets, providing the data for these programs. And it's essentially where they where these programs pull their information from. An example is teaching the computer what grammatical errors are. Is this a capital letter? Is this a lowercase letter? Should this be capitalized? Should this not be capitalized? Things like that. That's what you're teaching the computer, and you're building the database that the computer pulls from to answer the questions. The next level is called deep learning, which is intended to mimic the human brain by adapting to what it's being asked. If you are asking follow-up questions, things like that, and it becomes more and more conversational and becomes more human-like, not in a Terminator kind of way, but in a helpful kind of way. And then finally, we have generative AI, which takes all of that together to output your text, your images, your videos, whatever it is that you're trying to create. And it is all based on pre-trained data. So it has its data sets that it uses and pulls from to create. There are limitations to this because, like, ChatGPT is only up to date through, I believe, 2021 or 2022. So if you're asking for something that's incredibly up to date, you may not get 100% accurate information because it hasn't learned that yet. The computer only knows what it's been taught. So it is important to understand the limitations that exist in these programs. Most AI that the average person uses is an AI-driven chatbot. ChatGPT, Copilot, and Gemini are the top three for AI-driven chatbots. They're designed to take in data and output that data in a conversational way. Some examples for a verbal interaction is Siri and Alexa. They are, you ask them a question, they understand the question that you're asking, they dive into their database and they respond conversationally. So ChatGPT and other chatbots are usually text-based, but they are starting to add an audio interface as well. Content creation is a big use case for AI. There's some controversy behind copyright on it, but that is what AI is being used for a lot, especially on social media. And it can actually be used for the classroom in a lot of really productive ways. So you provide the content or the prompt for the content you want to create, and it produces the text, the image, the audio, the video, whatever you've asked for. Again, there are concerns of copyright infringement, and it's important to be aware of that and make sure that everything is on the up and up. Some examples again, OpenAI has ChatGPT for text, Dolly for images, and Sora for videos. Grammarly, a lot of people use Grammarly to help them write emails or papers that it looks for grammatical errors in real time. That is an example of machine learning. It has been taught these grammatical rules, and it can, in real time, review what you're typing and give you suggestions about tone and spelling and grammar and things like that. Canva is a graphic website used to create graphics for social media, for print, for a whole bunch of different avenues, and they have recently integrated AI into their platform to assist with the creation of whatever graphic design project you're working on. And then Copilot, again, is the Microsoft product that has image generation and a chatbot, and integrates into some Microsoft products. They have recently moved some of their features behind a paywall of Microsoft 365. And that literally happened this week. So you'll need to look into what changes have been applied there. But there is integration into the Microsoft Office suite on certain pay levels. So the big feature that we're going to look at is called prompt engineering. And it's how are you communicating with the chatbot? What questions are you asking to get the content that you want? So simply put, prompt engineering is a way to craft queries and prompts in a way that effectively communicates your intent to the AI tool, guiding it to produce the most accurate, relevant, and useful response. So you want to make sure that you give as much information as possible so you get the best result. It's just like if you're in the classroom. If your student's not asking you the right questions or giving you enough information, you can't give them the correct answer or a complete answer. So you have to do the same thing with your prompts. So some quick tips for effective prompt engineering is using specifics and iteration. So stepping through the process. So you're providing these steps, and I need part A, part B, part C, part D, and each one of those steps builds on itself and adds to your completed prompt. So the first tip is to be specific. The more detail you provide, the better your response is going to be. So you could have the response, tell me about dogs. Well, there's hundreds of breeds of dogs. What do you want to know about dogs? So that's too vague and too broad of a question. A more specific prompt would be, can you provide detailed information on the training methods for Australian Shepherd puppies, focusing on obedience and agility training? That is going to take the chatbot will take that prompt and use the keywords that you've provided. Detailed information, training methods, Australian Shepherd puppies, obedience and agility training. And it will narrow down your responses based on what you've asked for, and in theory, not give you superfluous information that you don't need. Being clear on what you want is important. The clearer you are, the more specific your response is going to be. An example of an ambiguous prompt would be, I'm wondering if it's possible for you to give me some information, perhaps a brief overview or some insights into what the main differences might be between renewable energy sources and non-renewable ones. A more concise prompt would be, what are the main differences between renewable and non-renewable energy sources in terms of environmental impact? The chatbot doesn't have to dig through all of that extra verbiage to get to what you're actually asking for. And I know you get these from your students, because I get them from my students, I get them from my actual children. It takes them 20 minutes to actually get to the question that they wanted to ask, because they have to tell me about their entire day before they ask the question. Don't be like that. Ask the question, be concise, and be clear on what you want. Detail the format that you want your response to be. You can have it output in various different formats, and it will save you time if you go ahead and tell the chatbot what you need. So, for example, tell me the key features of Python programming. Or can you list the key features of Python programming in bullet points, highlighting its simplicity, readability, and versatility? That's going to give you an outline in bullet points that's easy to read, and you can copy and paste that and do what you need to with it without having to take perhaps a paragraph and then create that outline on your own. Using keywords. Keywords feeds back into the specificity of your prompt. An example, tell me about the process involved in making a website. That's an in-depth process. Do you want to know about an interactive website? Do you want to know about the HTML, the CSS? There's a lot of answers that can come out of that simple question. A more specific prompt would be, can you explain the process of responsive web design, focusing on CSS media queries and fluid grid layouts? That is a very specific skill set in web design, and it will give you more information about what you specifically need than just a general overview that may not hit the points that you're actually looking for. Oop, wrong way. Iterative prompting. That is building upon each prompt to get deeper and deeper context. So, example, tell me everything about Leonardo da Vinci. Well, that's a lot. To narrow that down and streamline it, you can say, who was Leonardo da Vinci and what is he best known for? Then a follow-up question, can you describe Leonardo da Vinci's most significant contributions to art? And then a follow-up to that could be list notable scientific and engineering achievements. Think of it almost like an interview. You're interviewing the chatbot. You're asking follow-up questions to get more information. I know there was an example of an English class that used generative AI chatbots to have a conversation with Romeo from Romeo and Juliet. And the idea was to see if you could change Romeo's mind about whether or not he really was in love with Juliet after just seeing her at the party. And they're both willing to kill themselves after 24 hours. And you can have a conversation with the chatbot and see if you can get the chatbot to change its mind. So these follow-up questions help streamline and dive deeper into what you're actually looking for in your prompt. Providing examples. Again, all of these feed back into the first idea of being specific. Example, explain Newton's second law of motion. An example would be, can you explain Newton's second law of motion using a relatable example, such as how it applies to a soccer ball being kicked or a car accelerating to make the concept clearer for high school students? This is a really good example of making the content relatable to your students and meeting them where they live so that they understand these high level concepts like physics and gravity and Newton's laws of motion. And then you have the feedback loop. If your initial response isn't exactly what you're looking for, you can ask follow-up questions or you can refine your prompt. So the initial prompt is, what is the main theme of Macbeth? The response is, the main theme involves the dangers of ambition and how it leads to destruction. So your feedback could be, the initial answer provided a broad overview of ambition. Can you elaborate on Macbeth's ambition and its consequences, including key scenes and quotes that illustrate this theme? You have now taken the original response based on your original prompt and asked a follow-up question that now gives you deeper understanding and information regarding what you're looking for. And the deeper you go, the more information you're going to get and the more concise what you're looking for is going to be. So experiment with different prompt styles. Look at what advanced features your chatbot might have available. Stay up to date on what new features and new advances your chatbot is making. I know Google's Gemini is really good about providing updates on what new features and abilities the chatbot has. And then understand the limitations. This is, at the end of the day, you're still doing a fancy Google search. You're having a conversation with the internet and your information may not be 100% accurate. So a good rule of thumb is AI should provide no more than 80% of what you're working on. It is a starting point, not the end all be all. It's to help you save time and get started on what you're trying to do. So for educators, the prompt framework, the AI for education.io has this really good graphic for the 5S model. So the first S is setting the scene. Provide the chatbot context on what role, expertise, and/or environment it should use to guide your output. Example, you are an expert STEAM instructional designer and teacher. You are a master computer science teacher. You are a master Python programmer. You are an instructional coach with 20 years experience in special education. Things like that. Letting the chatbot know what role it's going to play will help you get more specific responses. Be specific. Be specific in your instructions, clearly define the task, and provide details on what you would like included. In this example, use the 5E model to create a 60-minute hands-on lesson. Your chatbot is going to look at what the 5E model is and is going to build your lesson plan according to that framework. And we're going to look at this a little bit more in depth here in just a minute. The next S would be simplify your language. Use a conversational approach with simplified language that avoids unnecessary jargon. Create an engaging lesson plan that aligns with CCSS. Engaging is a subjective term. What one teacher considers to be an engaging lesson may not be what an engaging lesson is to someone else. So ask for specifically what you want, and keep it simple and in relatable terms that everyone can understand, not just education professionals. Structure your output. Tell the chatbot how to structure the output with specifics on format, audience, and/or sections. Example, create a rubric for my students formatted as a table with directions. That is a specific format that you want your output. And I actually have an example prompt that I used for to generate a rubric that we're going to look at here in a little bit. And you can see how I requested the format of the rubric. And then finally, share feedback. Provide feedback at all points in the conversation. Share specifics on what needs to be revised to meet your needs. So if you're not happy with it, change the format from a table to a checklist. All of these chatbots ask you follow-up questions when you're done with your conversation and want feedback on how well the responses were. How well did it respond? So it can learn to do better. So the programmers behind the chatbot can improve and give their customers and users a better response. So effective prompting for educators, excuse me. A basic prompt would be a lesson plan about multiplying fractions for fifth graders. That'll give you a lesson plan. There's no telling what it's going to say. There's no telling what format it's going to be, what standards it'll be aligned to, anything like that. That prompt is too vague. A better prompt is, as an expert mathematician and a teacher skilled in designing engaging learning experiences for upper elementary students. So you have defined the role of your chatbot going into your prompt. It knows this is the role that I'm going to play, and in my lesson plan, I'm going to produce, this is the experience that I'm using. Design a lesson plan about multiplying fractions for fifth grade students. So you've added a level of complexity to your lesson plan by defining the role of the chatbot, and it will use that role to pull in information based on those keywords. The best example, you are an expert mathematician and teacher skilled in universal design for learning. That is more specific than engaging learning experiences. Universal design for learning is a framework that has documentation. It can find specifically what you're asking about. Design an accessible lesson, about multiplying fractions for fifth grade students interested in soccer. The lesson should include a hands-on activity and frequent opportunities for collaboration. Format your response in a table. This prompt gives the chatbot a role. It gives it a framework to use for designing the lesson. It gives the audience that you're designing the lesson for some personal information about your audience. So relating it to their experiences by making the lesson about soccer, and what kind of activities that you want included in your lesson and the format that you want your lesson to be in. All of those things together will create a fairly concise lesson plan that should check most of the boxes that you have put in that prompt. Some more examples of some prompts that can get better. So, create a quiz on linear equations, develop a quiz with questions related to linear equations, design a 5-question quiz focused on solving linear equations, including questions on finding slope-intercept form, solving for x and y intercepts, and determining the slope of a line. We start with a very vague quiz on linear equations, narrow it down to questions related to linear equations, but then we get more specific on the types of questions that we want asked. And then we have our fully realized prompt: create a 5-question quiz on linear equations. Each question should cover a different aspect of solving linear equations, such as finding the slope-intercept form of a line, solving for x and y intercepts, determining the slope of a line from a graph, and solving systems of linear equations using substitution and elimination methods. Provide clear instructions and ensure that each question is clearly formulated with only one correct answer. That is very specific, that it asks for the type of output you want, the type of questions you want. It is extremely specific, and you should get a very close output to what you're asking for. I've used these in my classroom, things like this in my classroom, to develop, excuse me, activities for my students. I tell them what I tell the chatbot what programming language I'm using, what state standards I want to use, what types of questions I want, and even for solutions and test cases for these exercises, so that I can then take them, when in my experience, take them into CodeHS and create custom lesson or custom exercises based on those on that output. And it has test cases and solutions, so I can make auto-graded activities inside CodeHS based on the output from the chatbot. So how can we specifically lesson plan with AI? We've looked at general prompt engineering and some lesson planning tips and whatnot, but we're going to narrow this down specifically to creating lesson plans using AI. So one of the first things that I start with is the standard. We all have standards we have to meet. A lot of times we have to provide the standard on the board or in writing on our lesson plan. Start with the standard. What state, what is the code, things like that. You can include AP standards. If you're an AP teacher, you can include the standards from the AP guide for whatever test and lesson you're doing. So identify your standard. Specify the preferred lesson model. If you have a specific format you prefer, if your district mandates a lesson, if it has to be in the 5E format, if it, has to be in the lesson cycle. My previous district, we had a very specific format in the way that we had to present our lessons, and we had to have sections that we had specific things that we were expected to do in every lesson. And it is a national format that is available, documentation is available. So I was able to include that in my prompts for my lesson planning, and it actually did generate in the format that I asked for. So we've identified the standard and the specific model of our lesson plan that we want. Then any other information that we need, subject, grade level, making it relatable to your students, what format do you want it in, things like that. So gather all of those pieces, and then you're going to write your prompt. You're going to include the standard, the model, and all of the other information that you need and that is pertinent to your lesson plan. And the generator will analyze that and provide an overview of the key concepts and skills related to that standard in your preferred method. Once you have your lesson plan, because again, AI is not doing all of the work for you. It is a starting point. You should take what the AI gives you and build on it, and don't take it at face value and say, here's my lesson plan. Look at the lesson plan and use your experience in your classroom to refine it and make it specific to your needs and your classroom, and make adjustments as needed. One last thing you can do once you have that is use AI to enhance your existing lesson, whether it's a lesson that the AI generated from scratch or it's a lesson that you already have. You can use those to generate enhancements for those lessons. You can generate art to go with the lessons. All of the art, with the exception of the graphics provided by AI for Education, were created by ChatGPT. All of the graphics in this presentation were created by AI. I used those to enhance the visual aspect of this slideshow. You can take your lesson plan and you can ask your AI assistant or your chatbot to make an analogy. If you need a bell ringer, if you need a hook, if you need something to get started, make an analogy. What are some misconceptions or struggles related to this concept? How can I differentiate this lesson? You can be specific. If it's an AP class, how can I differentiate this lesson for my advanced students? How can I make this more approachable for my struggling students? You can, if you have a lesson plan, but it doesn't include how long you should stay on each piece, you can ask the assistant to help you with pacing. How long should I spend on each aspect of this lesson? And you can ask for assessment generated based on your lesson. So we are going to take a look at that real quick. I'm going to share a different screen. No, hold on. Sorry, I gotta find my the desktop, the the document I'm looking for. Sorry. I have too many tabs open. So I will share this out. There we go. Got it, found it. Sorry about that. So this is an example of something I had already done in preparation for today's lesson. CodeHS provides lesson plans for all of our activities. And I took one of our lesson plans and downloaded it as a PDF. And using Gemini, I uploaded my document here. Are y'all seeing my Gemini screen? Okay, just want to make sure. I uploaded my lesson plan here that was provided by CodeHS. And I since the lesson plan had already been created, my prompt can be a little bit more generic because the lesson plan is providing the specifics for me. So I said, you are a master computer science teacher. create a project based on the attached lesson plan. Include a rubric with 5 criteria and 5 levels of assessment. So I'm looking for a rubric, and the format that I want is I want it to look for 5 criteria, and I like my rubrics to be 5 levels of assessment so that there's always a middle ground. So based on this lesson, which is about using graphics in JavaScript, the project that that Gemini rather created was to design your own emoji. It gave me an objective. It gave me instructions for my students on what to do. And here is my full complete rubric with the different levels of completion, 1 through 5. One reason I prefer Gemini personally is a lot of schools don't block it because it is a Google product. I can export this directly to Google Sheets. If you're a Google district and you live in Google Drive with sheets and docs and slides and whatnot, this is really helpful because you can export directly to Google Docs. You can export this rubric directly to Google Sheets. And this is showing the source of the information because I uploaded the document, but it will also, if I were not to provide background information and I asked for everything from scratch, it will provide me the sources as well. I can now take this and convert it into an assignment for my students and share with them this rubric. What's really handy about having this rubric is when the student is done, they can then use that rubric and ask the chatbot to check their code against the rubric. They can copy and paste their code into the prompt box, upload the rubric document and say, check my code based off of this rubric, and it will provide them a sample grade based on the rubric on how they met the requirements of the rubric. So that is just one example of using AI to assist in your lesson planning. I did the same thing in ChatGPT just to show you an example of a different chatbot and what it would give. Use the same lesson plan with the exact same prompt. And it gave me a little bit more in-depth project to create a graphic scene, but it still gives me a description, objectives, activities, and a full rubric just like I asked for. And I can now take this into a document and use it as well. So that is a handy way to take the lesson plans that already exist and you enhance them by asking for additional content based on what has already been done. You can do that if you're getting Gemini or ChatGPT or Copilot or whatever to create your lesson from scratch. You can take that and build upon that as well. I'm going to jump back to my presentation real quick, and I'm going to pull one of my example lessons, or one of my example prompts rather, just so you can see what the output would be. So you are an expert math teacher and skilled in universal design for learning.
Christopher, before you go on here for a second, we have a couple
Yes.
questions.
Okay, absolutely.
So somebody mentioned Conmigo. Yes, it's AI powered, and like it answered here in the chat, there's lots of AI platforms. So we're only addressing a handful today, but there's a lot of other ones that can be used in the same way or have their own specifications and how they can be used. So there's no way we can address all of them. but yes, that is an AI powered platform as well. Another question they had was, did you say that students can submit their work to AI and get an estimated grade? Well, if you ask them to do it with the rubric that you supplied, they can give them an estimate of what they might get or what they need to improve on. So it's all on how you teach your students how to use that rubric. And it could be, in fact, saying, based on this rubric, tell me what else I can do to improve my project versus what grade I'm going to get. It's all about how they input that. And then another person wanted to know what the content in the PDF looks like that you have.
Oh, I can pull that up real quick. So this is the outputted PDF of a CodeHS lesson plan. So it has the description, it has the objectives. These are links directly to the activities on the CodeHS platform. What prior knowledge is addressed. These are notes for the teacher on planning, just suggestions on what the teacher can do when planning out this lesson, and then the standards that are addressed by this lesson. The teaching and learning strategy section is a sample breakdown of the lesson, what you could do for an opener, the order in which to do the activities, and the estimated time each section of the suggested pace would take. Then there are discussion questions provided as well on how you can foster deeper discussions, resources related to the assignment, the vocabulary related to the assignment, and modification suggestions for advanced students, struggling students, and English language learners. That is the general format of what CodeHS lesson plans look like. They vary from lesson to lesson based on the concepts and the standards and whatnot. But for the most part, this is the general format of what a CodeHS lesson plan looks like. So when I uploaded that document, the chatbot was able to read that document and pull all of that information, so I didn't have to provide it in a prompt. So did that help? Awesome. Okay, so I have put the example prompt here in Gemini. You're an expert math teacher and skilled in universal design for learning. Design an accessible lesson plan about multiplying fractions for fifth grade students interested in soccer. The lesson should include hands-on activity, frequent opportunities for collaboration. Format your response in a table. Now, what is not included in this example is a standard for it to meet, nor does it have a lesson plan format like the 5E or the lesson cycle or whatever. And so accessible lesson plan, multiplying fractions with soccer is the title it gave it. And you can see how some formatting needs to be done on your end, obviously. But it has examples of procedural skill, real world application, materials needed. Here is your warm up, hands-on activity, guided practice activity, independent practice, and your closure. Again, I'm glad it didn't do exactly what we asked, because this is a perfect example of you shouldn't rely specifically on asking it to put it into a table or and expect it to work every time. You may have to format it on your own. Now, I can take this lesson plan and say something like, align this lesson with fifth grade math TEKS, which is the Texas Education Standards. And it will take that lesson plan that we just did, and it's analyzing the document. Oh, well, whoops. It's still actually working off of the attached lesson plan, but that's actually interesting because we don't have any cross-curricular standards on that lesson plan. So it was actually able to provide some cross-curricular suggestions for how we could integrate math into the lesson plan from CodeHS. So the reason it did that is because I didn't start a new chat. I should have started a completely new chat before I did that, because it was using all of the previous prompts that I had put in. So that is how you can use AI to help you with your lesson planning. You can get it to create from start to finish and ask follow-up questions until you get what you want, or you can take what you've already got and adapt it to your needs, including creating activities and rubrics and things associated with that lesson. So I'm gonna go back to our presentation here. Okay. So if this is something you would like to explore further, we have recently launched some AI curriculum here at CodeHS, and this is a example of one of our areas that we've launched in our curriculum. Ignite Curiosity with AI in your classroom. It's introductory, middle, and high school AI courses with projects and professional development. You can go to codehs.com/AI to learn all about our AI initiative and our new AI content, or you can email hello@codehs.com and someone will reach out to you with more information. So we are just about at time. We have some other resources available on our website. You can become a CodeHS certified educator. That's actually how I started my journey to get here. I was in the very first cohort of CodeHS certified educators, and 10 years later, I work here. So yeah, it's been an awesome journey with this company. I've loved every minute of using this platform, and I'm super excited to work here now. There are micro credentials available. You can take what I've learned through teaching your content and earn micro credentials. And if you're anything like me, and badges give you that little hit of dopamine that you need in the back of your skull, we have badges for all of our micro credentials. My email signature I had to make animated GIFs because I'm addicted to getting badges, and they wouldn't fit on my email signature anymore. We have a CodeHS Facebook educator group, and of course, active on all social media platforms. If you would, please fill out our feedback survey. Let us know how we're doing, how we can improve. We're here to serve teachers, so your feedback is important to us and vital to how we move forward. And if there are any other questions, we have about 5 minutes left. I will answer whatever questions we have. If not, you are free to go. Thank you for attending. If you did not get your attendance, if Leanne, would you drop that attendance link in the chat one last time to make sure that you get your certificate of completion for today's workshop. So So I will hang around for another 5 minutes or so. And if anybody has any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat, and we'll address those before we go.
There was a question about micro-credentials for students. We do offer certifications for students. That is something that you can contact your CSM for, or you can contact us for directly. Can you go on to your next slide?
Oh, yes, ma'am. There we go.
I did enter the attendance link again, and then the next one is if you are interested in our teacher trainer program, we are looking for some amazing teacher trainers here at CodeHS, and we do have an application that you can fill out, and I have dropped that in the chat as well. And then we still have several summer PDs coming up, and all these are free workshops, so you can always go on the free PD site. And so then lastly, if you are interested in those micro-credentials or in anything we have here at CodeHS, you can always go to codehs.com, learn more. You can go that if you want to bring CodeHS to your school, to your district, if you have more questions, you can go through there as well. Today's training is not an option in the drop-down list. Let me fix that very quickly. That's on the webinar survey. I apologize for that. Where did I put the link? I lost it already. Okay, today, I wonder why these were taken off. And if I can spell right. Okay, so now if you refresh, it should be there. I apologize for that. There was a question about using AI for grading. We actually do have, it is a pro feature. We have AI hints that we have auto graders already, where the students will do something in most of our coding and they will get grades. But we do have AI hints. So say you're a newer teacher or you need a way to explain it. We have 3 different options that you can choose from to be able to give them hints. Whether it's very general hint or like actually giving them the solution and giving them a suggestion on how to fix it. And so there's different levels. That is part of our pro version that you can do that learn more link to try to be able to get to. Okay, that's all the questions so far, Christopher.
All right, well, that is time for today. Thank you again, everyone, for your attendance today, and please follow up if you have any questions or you need any help, and our wonderful team at CodeHS will help you out any way that we can. Enjoy the rest of your summer, and best of luck in the upcoming school year.